how superbly Melvina, right? It's just so her, so lovely Melvina. Well, we wanted to put in a few more stories as well as the songs, and I want to introduce a friend of the Seeger family who lives up north of here and has also been playing the acoustic bass and will continue to throughout the night. Bill Amantique, please join us.
Thank you, Holly. And before we go any further, would you all please join me in thanking Holly for putting together this evening? Central to Pete Seeger's philosophy, to his ideology, was peace. Peace between the nations of the world, peace between political adversaries, peace and love between all his brothers and his sisters all over the world. And the road to peace, Pete preached, was simply through people who disagreed sitting down and talking. So, on April 30th, 2008, my wife and I ferried to San Francisco's Embarcadero to witness the unveiling of a memorial to the veterans of the Abraham Lincoln Brigade. The 2,800 American men and women who fought in the Spanish Civil War against the junta and for the legally elected government. Yeah. And wasn't that a time? The MC, Peter Carroll, head of the Abraham Lincoln Brigades, started the event off by introducing the 9 veterans who were there. Well, at that date, only 29 veterans of the Abraham Lincoln Brigade lived, so it felt like a very special occasion to have 9 of them there, and also like the end of an era. And then he introduced the dignitaries who had gathered for the event. There was Gavin Newsom, then San Francisco's mayor. There was the head of the Arts Council, he introduced him. Spain's ambassador to America was there. He introduced him. And then he introduced San Francisco's official, unofficial chief protocol officer, and her name was Charlotte Schultz. It's Charlotte's job to appear at events such as this. And then he introduced Charlotte's husband, George Schultz. George, of course, was Ronald Reagan's Secretary of State. He was President Bush's, George H. Bush's chief economic advisor, a hard right-wing American political conservative, right? He introduced him to the crowd, I am very pleased to report, to a loud, long, heartfelt boo! As the boos were about to die down to nothing, we heard a man's voice from the back of the crowd, very loud, very clear, yell out, "Murderer!" Ooh, we all turned around to see, well, who was this? It was a dock worker, a burly dock worker, his thick arms folded across his barrel chest, leading with his chin. No one was going to mess with this guy. The master of ceremonies cleared his throat. We returned our attention to him at the podium, and the event continued. I went home late that afternoon and wrote up this unveiling as a 3-page story and sent it to some family members and to some friends, including Pete Seeger. 3 days later, the phone rang. Hello? It was God calling. Hello, this is Pete Seeger. His voice rang out. Now, my family has known Pete and his family all our lives. He has sung in my father's home many, many times, but he had never called me on the phone. So I sat down immediately. Pete was calling to say thank you for my having sent him the story. I think it was an event that he would have loved to have attended, an event the likes of which we'll never see again. And he thanked me for the 2 photos that I sent him of an old friend who was there that day at the unveiling, Faith Petrick. She passed away just a month or 2 ago, and they had a very beautiful event for her right here at the Freight. And then, quite suddenly, Pete turned the subject. He said, "If I had been there when that man had shouted 'murderer' at Schultz, I would have walked right over to him, looked him right in the eyes, and said, 'We're all murderers.' What we've got to do is sit down and start talking about our differences." Thank you.